This is Ted Moss, and he's going to tell you, about Probate Research and what Investigations America can do for you in that regards.
So yeah, Probate Research and it's something that over the years we didn't get into a lot, but recently we've been able to do more and more of it, and it's fascinating because if you have, and a lot of times it's attorneys that are going to hire us to do this, but they have a client who's passed away, and they have a will, and they don't know who to disperse those assets to. We've done cases where there's millions of dollars that are just sitting there.
You got names in the will, but we don't know where
we
are those
don't know,
people.
right?
No idea.
So we use genealogy tools. We have to put together family trees. We're looking at now with all these different services that offer DNA, and we're finding relatives that, it's just a lot of work for the attorney to put that together. But it's not enough to just find those things. We then have to get that documentation. That's a theme here, right? We've been talking about documentation is hugely important. Birth certificates, death certificates. We put all that together in a nice, neat package because the attorney has to go to court and then validate that, look, we've looked through this lineage, and this is the person that should be deserving of these funds. Or maybe it's a couple of different people, right? But I mean, we had one recently where we thought there were no relatives, and we kept digging and digging. And after we interviewed a couple of people, and like, oh yeah, she did have a couple of kids, but then she remarried, and that person was adopted those kids, and they legally changed their name.
Oh wow!
So we were looking for Smith, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's Jones,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then we were able to track those guys down. And that was huge because we wouldn't have known that had we not just kept making the phone calls, talking to people, interviewing people, and working those leads.
How do you know, Ted, when you've reached a dead end where it's like, okay, there isn't anybody? Or
so when you do an investigation, right, you take the case where it leads you, and use the analogy of peeling this onion back layer after layer.
Yeah, sure.
But I guess it's experience, right? You reach a point where you're like, well, there is just nothing, and that's okay. Sometimes there is just nothing else you can do. Yeah. So sometimes it's your best guess, but you have to do your due diligence and prove that you did all those things and you took all those steps. So we document that again. So if they go to the court, we've actually put our best foot forward because you can run into trouble if somebody comes forward and say, wait a minute, you forgot about me. So we make sure that doesn't happen.
Ted, is there a typical amount of time it takes to do that thorough research?
They can. That's a good question, Randy. They can be time consuming.
Yeah, I imagine.
And you got to have a realistic, timeline on that. Sometimes the court imposes a timeline, so we just have to do our best to get it done.
Yeah.
But 90 days to 6 months.
Wow, no
right?
kidding.
And sometimes quicker. Yeah. Right? I mean, sometimes we're able to
some of the things you described, they would have taken a while. I mean, because, you had to, it's almost like you had to realize you're kind of at a dead end here, so you need to go this way. And that takes some time.
I've had guys work full time on probate cases for, weeks and weeks. So, yeah.
Well, listen, if there's some folks you need to find, it's a good thing you found Ted and his group because they can help you do it at Investigations America.